Hello, everyone. I am here with Raie, and we're super excited to have her on our page. Raie, why don't you introduce yourself, starting with your background?
Okay, I live in London now. I lived in London for a few decades, but I was born in Scotland and I left Scotland when I was about 16. So I've been here a long time. And yeah, I'm a lecturer in music at Goldsmiths University. I teach singers there. And I also teach singers at a drama school, Rosebruford College Drama School, International Drama School. And I have a lot of private clients. So that's kind of how I live, how I manage. Um, and then, yeah, I run a band called Raie, which is my life. And we just released an album in February. That was kind of strange timing because shortly after we released the album, we had lockdown. So a few of the nice gigs that we had lined up haven't happened. We're just going to have to pick all back up again when things get easier here. But we've just had another governmental warning to lock down again. So yeah. Yeah, is that cool? Do you need more?
That's a great start. Why don't you start off by telling us a little bit more about why you chose country music and your music as well?
Okay. I'd describe my music as somewhere between country and Americana, but it's hugely influenced by country. I think for starters, I'm Scottish, so, and I'm also largely part Irish as well. And the Celts, we're nuts for country music. We love it in Scotland and Ireland because I think we were instrumental in being a part of that music being born when we migrated to the United States. There's some very clear connections between the Scottish and the Irish ballads and the kind of country music that evolved. And obviously then it took off in America and the stories became about American life. But we have a really lovely affiliation with country music, I think, because of that history. And in Scotland, and especially in Glasgow, near where I come from, the country music is crazy. People will be wearing Stetsons and rhinestones on a Saturday night, and I think that's still true. Definitely of a generation, and even still, the Paolo Nutini. You've got people who love country music, Scots people. And also, that migrated to Canada as well, I think, with Scots people, a huge Scots contingent migrated to Canada. So you got people like Frazee Ford so I really feel a huge connection with country music. And obviously as a young girl, I listened to it a lot in local bars or, women gathering and singing it on a Friday night, singing their Jim Reeves and their whatever. Yeah, so it's kind of there in the blood, I think, and it's also in our cultural history. So I whilst that's all very traditional country music, I'd say obviously I moved a little bit away and I'm more influenced by a slightly more contemporary look at country music. But my producer's got a lot to say about what influences him and how that's come into the tracks on the album. Um, but I think we're not necessarily singing country and western. It's much more like a contemporary country music feel. Um,
Great.
yeah.
That's super interesting. I love to hear that history of country music in different countries. So that's really awesome. Thank you for telling us that. Can you tell us a little bit more about the album and your songwriting process for that album?
Okay. A narrative, I think, is a big part of it.
Yeah.
Stories, and I think that's true of, but well, that's one of the things I think that makes people who've reviewed the album call it country, because I really am writing about maybe hardships and so stories that can be quite sad or tragic, but also stories of struggle. Some of them are about family members, and some of them are about, maybe people that I've met in my life and things have happened to them that I felt so moved by that I wanted to write about. But they're always something personal, something close. I'm not really writing about things that haven't touched me or affected me in some way. But even down to things like, there's a song called National TV, and that's about a young woman who was the fifth victim of some serial killer in Ipswich. She was a prostitute. And actually, why would I write about her except that one night I was watching like a police check on the TV, and it showed a picture of her on the train, well, a video from the train footage, and she was fixing her hair in the train window, getting ready to go out and do her work, however, you know, difficult that would be. And she was so beautiful, and she was so young. I found that incredibly sad, you know, that she'd already been killed. So I couldn't really express that in any other way but to write a song about it. So, you know, then I've written a couple of songs about my mum, uh, our lives together. I don't know. Always coming from poetry, I think. I start with writing some sort of poetry. Although there's a song on the album called Healing Train, and that song came from music that my producer Wes Mabe sent to me. He sent me a beautiful guitar piece, and I just heard Healing Train, and that's a song about my misspent childhood or youth, if you like.
Yeah.
On the outskirts of the city. I left school at 15, and you know, we were in a depressed area where there was no work. They closed down the mining um, industry, and so the place was full of unemployed guys and hanging on street corners and stuff. So it was something a bit about a struggle, but also the people that I hang out with when I was young. Um, and then there's been some collaboration with another John Klein, who's well, you people might know him because he plays with Susie and the Banshees, and he played with Sinead O'Connor and people. So he's a wonderful guitarist, and we collaborated quite a lot on one of the songs on the album called Pegasus, which is about young men in war, I think. And I reference First Peoples in America in that song. The Shawnee people. And I also reference young men who are at war in Syria, and just what happens to young men in war, because I think that's obviously coming from somewhere like the Shawnee front, where they were fighting on the frontier, to going to somewhere like Syria now. The trials and tribulations are really different. There's, I mean, gosh, you know, miles apart, and they're modern issues now. So yeah, I'm writing country music and narratives, but a lot of it obviously is about our times now as well.
That's so great. Such a powerful collection of songs that you have on that album, and you can hear the stories and imagine them as you listen through it. So that's so great, and we love that about country music, to allow that. Can you tell me a little bit more about performing and your favorite parts about performing?
So performing, I love performing. Actually, I trained as an actress many years ago. I went to drama school and I was an actress for a while, but I always ended up doing music stuff anyway on stage. So it's easy for me to get on a stage. I don't find that daunting in any way. So it's, but I think the most important thing for me is being inside the songs, telling the story, and reliving the kind of, I suppose, the passion that helped me to write the song, the real care, if you like, about the characters in the song. So I feel like when I'm on stage, I'm telling everybody that's listening those stories over again. And I quite like small. I've done big venues. I've done Hammersmith Apollo. That's like 2,000 people. But I've done a lot of small venues, and I really prefer intimate venues because you get eye-to-eye contact, and that's really nice. People talk to you afterwards. It's much more intimate. So that intimacy is something lovely too. I like to talk to the audience, and I usually tell them the story a little bit as well. Something that doesn't always work, I think, with performers if they go on too long, I suppose, but I've kind of got that down to a bit of a fine art now, maybe just being able to pull out the most important thing about the song. And I think that usually gets people's attention too, because they're issues that probably touch us all in some way. So yeah, I love that. I love that about performing. I don't wear in-ear monitors enough, and I find sometimes that's difficult. So I'm going to start investing in them. I've worn them a couple of times in bigger venues, and I don't like wearing them because you feel slightly cut off from the band.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's this outfit that I've got now, especially John Klein, and you know, they're playing with some power. So you know, you need that, I think. That's technical aspect of performing, but there might be some other singers who relate to that, especially wearing the in-ear monitors and how that makes you feel.
Yeah.
Some people love them, but I know a lot of singers who don't really like wearing them. Yeah.
I see a lot of people at concerts, the artists will just like take it out like halfway through their set and they're like, I
I
just want to
know.
hear it all.
Yeah, because it's so difficult to get the vibe from the band. But then once you've not wearing them, there's a lot of frequencies, bass frequencies
Mhm.
and stuff. And, you know, it's, you got to really work to stay right in the center of the note and all that stuff. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's so cool. And we definitely love the intimate settings, and we're seeing more of that. Here we've got like a lot, of course, there's no big festivals happening, so it's cool to be able to see the small ones that people are trying to work together right now, and that intimate feel. So that's great that you love that. Can you tell me about your future plans and goals? Are you still writing? What have you been doing while your time in quarantine and all that jazz?
Yeah. Uh, okay, so I've got a couple of gigs coming up. Uh, just small venues in London,
Yeah.
and because they're beginning to take risks. But we've just literally, I think this morning it might have been, or yesterday morning on Radio 4, BBC Radio, we've just had an instruction from the government that we can't gather with more than 6 people. So whilst we were just saying, okay, we're just coming out of this and we're just building ideas about doing a small London tour, I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. We had some nice venues lined up through a fixer. We were going to do O2 Islington and a couple of other really nice venues. We did the Bedford just before lockdown, so that was really great because the Bedford is like the place to play in London, and we loved that. Yeah, we did a shared night that time. So basically, just turning our hand to writing. Um, and we've written about 2 or 3 new songs for album number 2, because I've done about 3 or 4 EPs with Raie, but this is the first full album that I've done with Wes Mabe, and we've had such a wonderful time working together that we're going to continue. And so we've written a song, we're calling it the VC song, but we've written about Vietnam, because we were really inspired by the program that came on Netflix. I don't know if you people got it over there, but it was a really, really interesting documentary. Wow, it was so revealing, loads of stuff on there I had no idea about, and I know everyone else is saying that too, so I was very moved by that. So written that, and then I actually started writing maybe a couple of love songs, and that's because people said to me, you need to write more love songs. So I've written some memory songs about young love, and then I've written a song called Country Music Taking Me Back Home, and that's actually referring to the thing that I was talking about earlier about the history of the music. So that song's about the history of it from a Scottish person's point of view. So there's a bit of writing happening. The songs are being passed to and fro online.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, you know, we supported a couple of people. There's a lovely women's ukulele band. They're kind of country. They've got bass and accordion and stuff in there as well. They're powerful sound. And there's 5 of them. They do a fantastic set of covers and also original songs. They're called the Ukadelics. And we supported them the other day in this kind of nature park where I live. And that was really nice, you know. So things like that are kind of possible, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
hard to plan right now. It's just quite hard to plan.
it definitely is. Well, it sounds like you've got some really exciting things in the works that, at least for what we can plan out right now. It was so great talking to you. My final question is just about where our followers can find your music and stay in touch with you.
Okay, so I've got a website which has just been kind of revived by a wonderful guy called Pete Arnstein, and that's www.raiemusic.com, and that's Raie, R-A-I-E music, all one word, R-A-I-E music.com, and they can buy the music. They can I'm on Spotify. The album's on Spotify. They can go to iTunes. They can go to Bandcamp. Yeah, SoundCloud. They're all on the website. So probably the best starting point is the website. And the lyrics are all on there. The history of the songs is all on there. Got some nice pictures and interviews. We had some real lovely reviews in R&R magazine and Blues Matters magazine, and there's links to all the radio shows that I've done so far, which has been really fun. And obviously I'm going to put your one on when you send it to me, which is lovely. Thank you so much for